Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noah Martin, and I'm here to inform you about something today. Many of us have heard of all of the courageous acts of valor during World War II, and also the atrocities as well that have occurred. But I'm here to tell you today about a character named John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill. Very courageous man. He's no relation to Winston Churchill, and he committed very many acts of valor during World War II. He was nicknamed Mad Jack by his compatriots because of his daring deeds. So let's start at the beginning. In his years before the war, in 1906, he was born. He served in the British military in India and Burma. When he was taking a cross-country trip through India from the west side to the east side, about 1,500 miles long, he was riding his motorcycle. And so when he would cross bridges that trains would cross as well, back then they just had the cross ties and the rails. So he would walk his motorcycle along the rails, and he would walk on the cross ties with nothing between the next cross tie to keep him from falling in the water. So this just kind of gives you a little bit of background of his kind of a reckless demeanor. On that trip, he actually crashed his motorcycle into a water buffalo, which I imagine is pretty hard to do, unless that water buffalo just would not move. So anyway, he was a movie extra in the movie The Thief of Baghdad. It was a 1938 movie. He got second place in the military piping championship, that's bagpipes, in 1938. He also represented Britain at the National Archery Championships in Oslo, Norway in 1939. And then the war was starting, and he wanted a little something to strike fear into the hearts of his enemies. He had taken some time off from the military. He had retired for a while, and he was going to come back into the service. And he had the military prepare for him an 85-pound longbow made of Spanish yew with some aluminum-tipped broadheads. And so he had to pay for this out of pocket because the British government has not really paid for any kind of traditional archery equipment for military purposes in a very long time, since at least the medieval times. On May 27th of 1940 was the first recorded shot that he took at a German. He killed him with his bow. Very interesting fact. It was a big morale booster to his fellow soldiers. Kind of weirded out the Germans. They're thinking, who is this guy? We need to be wary of him. And later in 1940, the commandos, the British commandos were formed. You guys have probably heard of them. They were trained in serious ultimate survival. They were trained in demolition, navigation, assaults, military assaults over land and sea, silent killing, close quarters combat, all kinds of training. They were trained in how to use just virtually any weapon they might come across on their missions throughout Europe. So that was the year 1940, and on December 27th of that year began the start of Operation Archery. Whether this was an aside to him because of his use of a bow remains unclear.